Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Oneness Show with your host, Mary Jacobs. Today's episode is going to be really about two different things. They're correlated, but two kind of distinct things. The main thing that I wanted to focus on beginning is the dark night of the soul. Kind of hinted on this the last episode that this next recording was going to be more so about the dark night of the soul, what that really truly is, and some things that I feel like have helped me get through those nights of the soul because I don't know how everybody, journey is because everyone is unique on their path and what they came here to do and experience. But for my personal journey, I've experienced multiple dark nights of the soul, not just one. So I did want to just kind of piggyback off that, just from my own understanding, things that have helped me and hopefully may help you. If you've experienced your own, please feel free to expand on, what that looked like and how you were able to get through yours and the transformations that took place through that process. And hopefully, like I said, our journeys can help other people with theirs. That's the hope, at least, right? That, each of us becomes a teacher and a student for all of our brothers and sisters out here. And to know that you're not alone, and that there is support here, and there are other people who do honestly know what you're going through. So, together we truly are better. And even if it's just, sharing our stories and offering support, whether it's verbally or, other ways, I think is very, truly important. The other side of that coin about the dark night of the soul that I wanted to include is about really fear and the importance of mind, especially the subconscious mind, and how we can reprogram the subconscious mind through action. Words and repetition, thoughts, redirecting our thoughts. And then on top of that, really believing that a change is possible for us and that our past and our present does not have to determine our future, and how they kind of go hand in hand with, overcoming and allowing that transformation through the dark night of the soul. Okay. So just beginning off, the dark night of the soul, I'm sure we've all heard of that term before in some form or fashion. You've probably seen memes about it, heard, someone around you talk about it, seen books about it, whatever. It's kind of more of a common theme right now than it used to be. My understanding of the dark night of the soul is really when we are kind of forced into a moment of having to face ourselves, face all of our fears associated with doubt, worry, shame, guilt, criticisms. We're having to face things that we've suppressed or repressed from our past, whether it's things that have happened to us or things that we may have done to other people. All of these things come up to the surface where, most times we're able to kind of, live our normal day-to-day life. This is kind of back in the recesses of our mind. They might pop up from time to time. You kind of like brush it off, or you think about it and then kind of snap out of it, so to speak. But it's nothing you really dwell on the majority of your life experience during certain moments of your journey. And then there comes periods where life itself forces you to sit with it. And you lose the ability to just easily brush it off. These thoughts and emotions and feelings and emotions, feelings, excuse me, all just take turns in your your energy field, just kind of churning and gnawing at you. It feels like a gnawing kind of feeling, like the pit of your stomach, it's kind of like, oh, ooh, you know. Those moments are not punishments. They're opportunities. They feel like punishments. They feel as heavy as they actually really are. They are intense. Um, they can make you feel as if you're unworthy. They can make you feel angry. They can make you feel alone. Um, and these are all of the unowned parts of ourselves that we have been trying to run from, and using anything outside of ourselves as crutches, like whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's sex, whether it's TV, whether it's social media, whether it's work, whatever it is. We've been using other external things as a way and a means to not have to focus on that. And the more we're trying to run from and hide from these very emotions that are screaming to be acknowledged, screaming for our attention to be faced, to be recognized, to be dealt with, the harder the addiction can be. Um, they are heavily correlated. Addictions of all different kinds and all those deep-seated emotional debris that we really have tried to suppress or repress or deny. Now, this can also be a very highly controversial topic. I am not in any shape or form a medical doctor or a psychiatric doctor. I'm not a psychologist. So I'm not trying to diagnose anyone or give like any advice that should not be, talked over with your physician or your therapist. So I just have to put that disclaimer out there. Like, don't take my word for it specifically. If it resonates with you and is something you want to delve into deeper and you want to ask professional help with, please do that. Okay? I am only really here to share my own experiences and my understandings about those experiences that I myself have gone through. Yours may be different, and you might have a lot of other things and factors involved that may need real professional attention and assistance outside of just what I'm sharing. Okay? I just really want to make sure that we're all really taken care of and knowing that our journeys are sincerely unique. They are ours, and sometimes we need a little additional help at certain points in our lives, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. In actuality, knowing that and looking for and searching for that help is actually commendable and should be applauded. Because a lot of us, there's a stigma around getting help around some of this heavy stuff. There's a stigma around even sharing and opening up about some of this stuff. And so please get the support that you need. Okay? Because everybody's journey is different and everybody has experienced different levels of deep, heavy energy. And you know what I mean without me having to be very explicit about it. But, everybody's experience is unique. So it's just my understanding is still with the right assistance and the right help and the right tools in place, when we're finally safe and in a safe environment to be able to face these fears, these deep held, set in heavy emotions and feelings and thoughts about experiences that we may or may not have had, we may fear we may have. When I say may or may not have had, it means you may have had some experiences that were really heavy and dark and painful, or you may be afraid of those dark, heavy, painful, experiences happening to you, which is where the fear part comes in. So what has helped me through my journey was, first of all, to face it, to write it down. There have been plenty of times when, like in the middle of the night, I would wake up and my mind's just racing all over the place. And there's just these deep set emotions and fears. And like I'm reliving and remembering things that, from way back in my childhood that I've never remembered before. Having a lot of aha moments. Having a lot of, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that, I've been holding on to this so long. That really hurt when this person said this to me. And I could follow the thread of how it affected my life thereon, because I sincerely believe that one phrase that person said when I was young was true for me, and how it shaped my life and how I viewed myself. And then the same thing, it was flipped because it was like, well, dang, what may I have instilled in my children at certain points before I was on my heal journey that has actually stuck with them and made them turn out to be and have the mistakes that they made or make them feel like they were unworthy or, just continue on that rabbit hole. Um, and then it goes deeper, emotional debris from past relationships, romantic relationships, um, friendships, uh, relationships with my parents, fear of being seen, because of my fear of being ridiculed, my fear of, that, as we call it, you know, what is the syndrome? Um, oh my goodness, it's not coming to me right now. I'll have to come back to it. But, when you feel like you are trying to be something that you're really not. And like, who am I to talk about this? Who am I to speak up and say this and that? What if someone hangs on my every word and then they're harmed in some way? You know what I mean? Or what if someone, blatantly tells me that, like, I'm going to hell, or, you need to do this, you need to do that. Like, who the hell do you think you are, excuse my mouth, to be, talking about certain things? We've been doing this for how long and you just new popped on the scene, imposter syndrome. That's the name of it. Thank you. So just knowing all these different caveats and fears and just really calling them by name, your fear of sickness, your fear of death, fear of being ridiculed, um, fear of, let's see, what was that, like, what did I say? And then getting clear that fear has tried to paralyze you and keep you stuck. So, for instance, let's just say you're having a dark night of the soul. You're going through these moments, days in, days out, night times, tossing and turning, can't get any rest. And you're just thinking about all the different so-called failures that you've experienced in your life. All the different things you feel like you could have done better. You're repeating in your mind over and over all the things that you said or did that now you cringe at. Thinking about all the pain or the things that someone has inflicted upon you. The fear of the unknown and thinking about all the what could happens. What if this happens? Or what if that happens? And oh man, if that happens, just all these fears, this anxiety, this stress that we're emotionally and mentally putting ourselves through. Okay. And instead of allowing it to, because now it's in a repetition. So it first came in, it was subtle at first, and then it started building momentum. And then momentum, and then the repetition is there. And now your life and your world is filled with these things. Now you're triggered by the outside world. You're triggered by your family members or friends who are checking on you. They may mean nothing by a phrase they say, but you immediately associate it with something that you've been mulling over for the last night or two or weeks, and they have no idea. And so you lash out at them and assume that based on where you are mentally, that they've got to be meaning it that way, So we have all that going on. And then when you finally are like, okay, I'm done being the victim of this, because I've gone through many nights of the soul in the beginning stages where I allowed this to really take hold of me and just pray for it to be over. Like, oh my God, here we go through this again. Oh my God. Oh, right. Until finally I was like, done my own inner work. Because every time when I come out of it, I would have a moment where it's like, all right, it's not as painful anymore to touch, to feel. Now, what is this trying to teach me? That's when I started being curious about what I just experienced, instead of just be like, phew, glad that's over. The more I, on the other side of it, was ready to dissect some of these things that came up, and then face them little by little at those beginning stages. But after the heaviness of it all, I kind of do it on my terms once it had kind of had its full course with me. That's when really I started seeing that it would lessen. So now when that time came, and sometimes it's not like it happened often. It would be like once a year, maybe once every year and a half, 2 years. It's not like it was like once a month. Now it can be that intense for some people. It just depends on your journey. For mine, it was not. Thankfully, I only had it every year, year and a half, but you got to remember, I was also doing a lot of heavy, I don't want to say heavy, I say extensive. It wasn't heavy. It was very extensive work that I was doing in between those times to kind of handle and deal with and work through some of my fears, work through some of the things that were happening um, as far as like, why am I afraid of being seen? Why am I afraid of imposter syndrome? You know, why am I more afraid of what could happen than really standing in my purpose and believing and having faith in that and following that thread? You see what I'm saying? So because I was doing a lot of work in between, I think that helped put more space between them because I was actually actively doing the work in between. To where when I started having the dark night of the soul progressively later and closer to where I am right now, when those moments were happening, one, they weren't as intense, and I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. And I knew right then, like, all right, it's time for me to face it. And so I would cry. I would hold myself, hug myself, love myself, and be like, and I still love you. And I still love you. Even if everything that you're thinking could happen, did happen, and I still love you. Even though all those mistakes you've made along the way, you can't get it back. I forgive you. And I'm making a pact to do better now. And I still love you. Kim, I love you. That's my middle name. And that was the name that everyone I grew up with all of my closest family members. Mary is also who I am. I was named after my grandmother. I respond to both names. That is who I am. It's not two different people. I'm one person. I'm one energy, one consciousness. However, how I respond to different aspects of my name based on who was talking to me and who used even nicknames. You see what I mean? There's a physical and emotional response even to that. So play with that also when you're having your dark night of the soul. Forgive yourself, forgive others, and really call yourself by names that you've been called, even the bad ones. And be like, I know this is not true. I unconditionally forgive and release you, that name. Not saying you are anything. If they called you, the B word, if they called you lazy, whatever it is, that you started to associate, and I still love you. Even if you are lazy, I love you. Even if you did believe that you were unworthy or you were ugly or whatever else you can think of, I still love you. Go through all of those things. And then once you can forgive yourself and love yourself and openly face those shadows that have been lurking in the darkness for so long, and let the tears cleanse you, let them fall because they've been being held in for so long, and just wanting to be heard, wanting to be witnessed, wanting for you to love them. The darker aspects of yourself that have been hiding in the centers of your being, down in the depths of your heart or the corners, Once you get to that place where you can really, honestly, unconditionally love you through all of that, not just say it, feel it, own it, be it, do it. Do something that lets you know that you love you, that you've got you, that no matter what, even if you are an army of one, you love you, you stand by you, and you trust you, and know that God that lives within also has you. Because that is the aspect of each one of us that is waiting for the opportunity to be able to shine again. Is to get through all the muck, all the darkness, and shine the light on it. Open the door wide open and let it just breathe. Open the windows in those places that you've been trying to keep and stuff everything. Let some air in there. Air it out. Let the sunlight see it. Realize that, the shadows were scary, but when you cut the light on or let the sun shine in, it's not so scary anymore. If anything, it's like a great exhale. Why do I wait so long? And the fear will keep you stuck from facing the very fear that is hidden. Crazy how that works, isn't it? So the challenge of after you're able to really face and call by name those fears that have tried their best to paralyze you and have in many instances, probably. I know they did me. Call them by name. Call them for what they are, as lies. As lies. Okay? They're just figments of your imagination and the imaginations of other people. Okay? They're only real if you allow them to continue to be real, because only you can change your paradigm. Only you can change your experience. Only you can change how you view and choose to view yourself and your world, and therefore do something about it to transition to something better, something more nourishing, something more healthy, something more loving, something more prosperous. Only we can do it. And we can ask and get help, and that is necessary many times. I mean, there's been plenty of times throughout the entirety of my journey I've asked for help. I've called out for help. I've needed that extra assistance, somebody just to talk through things, someone to hold me, somebody to support me, somebody to just listen, somebody to just give me a hug, And sometimes you need professional help. Someone who is certified to be able to hold that space for you in a safe environment so that you are capable of really allowing that stuff out, and then having tools in place to be able to work through it, unpack it, and then build your life in a different trajectory. Sometimes it takes more of an intensive pathway, and that is amazing as well. And so once you get on that other side and you do the practice of really loving yourself and then calling in the support to be able to really call yourself and be accountable and be safely held through all these experiences, then I want you to start speaking the opposite. Start, whenever those fears come in, that the opposition of, oh my gosh, like, you know what? I am worthy. And I'm going to continue moving forward until my truth is shown to the world, is shown to myself, is shown to, the universe, God. I'm not going to stop until what has been put inside of me is made plain. Everybody has a purpose and a mission in life. Sometimes we might not understand it, even the things that we think have make no sense, including everything that we have stuffed, which creates the dark night of the soul, by the way. Everything that we've tried to stuff, hide, repress, and shun, all of those have had their purpose as well. And I have to say that, like, sometimes it's front loaded with all that to get the pressure to create the actual diamond that you are. The grit helps to shine and buffer you so you can become the greatest version of yourself. But a lot of times we just allow ourselves to stay in that muck and that mire without allowing ourselves to grow and break through it and become the lotus flower that we all are. Now I want to talk to you about reprogramming, because once we get through the dark night of the soul and we are finally like, okay, I kind of got an idea of what this is, what it entails, why it's there. Now, how do I move through it? And that's by facing it, by loving yourself, forgiving yourself through it. And then kind of being like, all right, now how do I reframe my life so that it is no longer wrapped around that reality, but creating the reality of the life that I know I was meant to live. That is when it comes into the reprogramming of your subconscious mind, and knowing that the mind, the universe is mental. As above, so below. As within, so without. Okay? So just remember that everything begins with a thought. And then the more you think that thought, it creates a repetition. And then through that repetition, it becomes your reality. It becomes your what you see. It becomes what you allow in. And it's like, even though other great things can be happening all around you, you don't associate it with your reality or your life. So therefore it doesn't exist. Your perception really does become your reality. Um, so knowing that your perception becomes your reality, and it all is based on your original thought that you repeat over and over again, which then becomes your perception, which is your reality. That's the key. That is the key to reprogramming, because now the power is back in your hands. Now you're no longer giving your power away to the external world. You are taking back your power, your God-given creator power, that God consciousness that God has instilled inside of every single being, to be able to change your world, change your life, to change it all. And now I say that with very much a sense of confidence, because I've experienced it more times than not, for good or for good or for bad, excuse me. And I guarantee each one of you has as well, whether you're willing to admit it or not. So going back to the premise, knowing that the key is the mental, the thought, the perception becoming your reality, and the perception is your perception because you've repetitively thought certain thoughts over and over and over again, to where now that is what you have come to believe yourself, trust and know. So now that is now what is being broadcast all around you. Bear with me. We know that. So even if you don't believe that, let's just follow the thread. Every single morning, try to write down whenever those negative thoughts come in, and trust me, in the beginning I used to oh man, this was way back. I want to say like 2009, 10. It's like 15 years ago. And I was aware of it. I started listening to Louise Hayes, and I started listening to all these other people that were talking about reprogramming your mind, and I think it was Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and just a lot of different people that started coming into my worldview once the seed was planted, that things are mental, and that I knew I was mentally stuck, and I didn't know how to get out of it. And in the beginning, it was very hard. It was easier for me to talk about it and help other people come into it than it was for me to change my own world, because I had such deep-seated beliefs, and my thoughts had been so deeply ingrained into what my reality had become, that it was like I would self-sabotage over and over and over again. Every time I felt like I was coming out on the other side, it was like my mind would keep, like, it would double down. The more I did positive, da 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 da, the more it's like my mind would come out with a vengeance, and like da 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 da. And so there was an imbalance, and your world doesn't truly shift. And it was because at my core, I didn't really trust and believe that my world could change. And so yes, I allowed my actual mind to still have control over me. I still was giving my power away. I would tiptoe, try to sneak and get some in every now and then, but I didn't really believe I had the power. My power still lied outside of myself. And I gave my mind and my emotional body more control over me, when they're supposed to be tools that our souls use, not the other way around. It was like my soul was just along for the ride, and my body and emotional and mental body was just running the show. And my soul was trying to every now and then get a little bit out there, like, hey, and then do. It's like, go over there somewhere, soul. Shh, we got this. And I was allowing it to happen, because all these are aspects of ourselves, remind you. All these aspects are of ourselves and what makes us who we are. You know, the different bodies, the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, the spiritual and etherical body, the 5 different bodies, which are all aspects of you that are interconnected. It's the one consciousness, but the one consciousness is expressing through these layers. And when they're not in harmony with one another, and some of them have gotten, you know, bigger than their britches, so to speak, and want to be the top dog of the one that's ruling the show, and there's no harmony between all of the layers of being through this physical world experience that the soul has chosen to have through incarnating with these bodies to fully experience and express in a physical world. Well, we get caught up in the sauce. We start believing in all the external things as being completely true and the only truth. And it creates that cycle, that repetitive cycle of now we're continuously caught up in this materialistic wheel. And now we're imbalanced, and look at the world around us. You know, we're living out of harmony with nature. You know, we think we're separate than nature. You know, when everything in nature is needed, the oceans are needed. You know, we're throwing off the balance of the whole world, which we actually need to survive. And if we don't learn our lesson here on this planet, then whether we go to another planet or not, with all this space stuff going on, we were going to carry the same negative, bad traits to another world and destroy it, and i.e. eventually destroy ourselves physically. Which means that a lot of souls will have to reincarnate. If you believe in that type of thing, this is my own understanding and belief, and please don't let me put that on anyone else. It's true. If you don't resonate with it, I completely respect that. But in my understanding that in the event that we pass from this body, we will eventually move on to another body. Okay? Reincarnation. Until we learn all of our lessons, we completely deal with all the karma that we have built up through eons of lives. And when we finally break free and are self-realized, because no one's going to come save us. We have helpers along the way, people that want to help, beings on the other side that have freed themselves, that come back, that want to help. You know, think of all the Christed figures and, you know, ancestors and beings that want to help if they've actually reached that pinnacle themselves. Okay? Until you reach that part where you're like self-realized, and it's like, regardless of what this physical body looks like, okay, regardless of all of that, you know, the soul inside is pure consciousness, pure raw energy, the pure source that is connected to the Godhead, which is the source that is interconnected with all things. So once you know that, and you can actually live from that aspect while you are in the form, and command all those bodies to resonate in harmony with the God essence that is within all. Okay, versus living in forgetfulness and slumber, being asleep. Okay, it has its purpose. And when you're ready to awaken, that's when things like this podcast and so many others, books, classes, oh my goodness, teachers appear left and right to assist you on the path, because that is the goal for everyone. And when the student is ready, the teacher appears, the master appears. And let's face it, guys, we're all teachers in our own right, just like we're all students. So when someone in your direct vicinity or world of experience is ready for a specific teacher, and you happen to be a teacher in this specific, whatever it is that you've mastered, good, bad, you know, however you want to, you know, call it. But if someone else in your world of experience is calling in someone who's mastered what you've mastered, you're going to end up being that teacher. You know? It doesn't have to be in some formal setting for you to teach someone or to be taught. Some of my best lessons came from this real life and people that I met in unexpected places. It wasn't always in a classroom setting or on a Zoom meeting or someone who proclaimed themselves as a teacher even, but they were a teacher to me. You see what I'm saying? And that's where we got to stop being, if we're ready to really transcend all the labels and we're ready to really live in the humility and humbleness of knowing that I and my brother are one, just like myself and God are one. Me and that tree, or all the plants around me and my bed are one. You know what I mean? Like, you stop trying to put we stop trying to put ourselves or anyone else up on a pedestal, and we bow to all and knowing that everything has something to teach, just as we ourselves do through our journey. So there's so many layers, and I'm sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent, and I maybe went all over the place because, like I said, I've been trying to just be authentic and overcome my own, fears, and just really just share from my heart, unscripted, you know, without an outline even. I just got an idea of what I want to talk about, and then I just get on here and talk and share because I feel like that's what's missing. It's just raw authenticity and people who just honestly wanting to share just for the sake of helping other people and sharing, you know? Like, yes, this is my platform to share, but I also want it to be like our platform, a platform for other people to come in and really be able to share. Eventually, I want other people to come in and share their wisdom, and to do interviews. And, yes, I would love for you all to do polls and leave me a review or leave me a question or like my stuff, this is a free platform. So no, yes, it would be nice to be able to have platforms like this where all of us could be recognized as the teachers we are, and be able to have, create a life from just this, in a perfect world, that's how it would be. And without being paid a dime to share all of my wisdom on this platform, on YouTube or any of that, because I probably don't even have 100 followers at this moment. The point is, I still want to share, and it's because I'm loyal to my vision and to my purpose. No matter how much we try to run from who we really are and our purpose and why we came here to be, our vision and purpose are going to follow us all the days of our lives. You're going to be it whether you want to be it or not. Whether it's just in the grocery store, whether it's at your job, whether it's with your family, with your children, your spouse, your mom, your friends, whether you're on a platform like this, who you naturally are is always going to radiate no matter what. Your purpose is you. You just got to start believing more in yourself than the fear, the doubt, the naysayers. And I'm not putting the financial piece or the one. I definitely don't want to be, famous or any of that. No, 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 no. None of that. I just want to be true. I want to be authentic. I want to be a teacher just as I want to be the student. I want to be balanced. I want to be harmony. I choose to be authentic. I choose to stand in what I believe in, even when it's hard and my voice shakes. Even when there's a little bit of doubt in me, I'm still getting ready to go out here and I'm going to do it because it's just the right thing to damn do. Like I said before, even when you are an army of one, if you stand in your purpose, then you are doing and fulfilling what you came here to do. And so that's what this is for me, guys. Even if I'm an army of one, I was put on this planet to be a platform of sharing my journey and hopefully being present and allowing others to feel safe enough to one day maybe share their own. Because each one teach one, right? And my journey might help your journey a little bit easier. I don't know. And that's the beauty of it. Because it's raw and I have no agenda. I've just been called to share. I'm just being called to share. Even when I try to go away from it, even when I try to deny who I really am and the weirdness that I like to talk about, like chakras and crystals and, the planets and our interconnectedness and, Christ consciousness and, trees and how they speak to us and, our ancestors and spirit guides and, all the stuff that everybody, I live it. And I don't have a platform really and to really share about these things or talk to people about it because I know that people are going to judge. They already have. I've experienced that as well, and I'm sure so many of you have too. That's the importance of having real community and people that you can just be yourself with. Just share and be yourself with. That's important, and that's what I think this world is missing with all the materialism and all the power grabs and all the evil and the anger and the greed and all the pain and all the taking advantage of, with all that other stuff that's going on, we don't have to sit around and just focus on all those problems. We know they're there. And what I feel is going to counter that is with more of us going through our own dark night of the soul and facing what we need to face internally within ourselves, which helps the whole world heal. Because the whole world right now is going through a dark night of the soul, which is also opening the door, Pandora's box, to every individual having their own and not being able to run from it, but having to face it and know that you're supported in doing so, not just for me and other people like me. The universe and God itself is here to support you through it. This planet is here to support you through it. Because on the other side is where all the beauty is, where the rebuilding is, where the healing is. And yet we've got to get through this dark night of the soul. We must choose to face and walk through everything that we have chose to fear, deny, suppress, repress, and see it as a huge gift and opportunity that it is to finally break free and be done with this shit. The more we try to run from it and hide from it, the longer it's going to persist. Okay. Guys, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about this because these moments for myself alone have been some of the hugest, most transformative moments of my life. And they were heavy and ridden with tears and not knowing how I was going to get through it, but that I was going to be with myself until I did. Oof, even thinking about it brings tears to my eyes. Not tears of sadness, but tears of recognition, of understanding, of the power that we all have, and yet have forgotten ourselves and have went to sleep. And even sensing that power there, knowing that you have to go in that dark, scary room, and albeit you don't have to go by yourself, but you got to go through it, is what has got the majority of people on this planet stuck. And I pray, and I hope, and I wish, and I send positive vibrations, and I ask the universe to back me and so many other people out here to help support people to get through that breakthrough moment. By the will of God, may it be done. And that is what this world is experiencing right now. That's why there's so much chaos everywhere. It's the world's. It's the US's. It's every country. It's every human being. It's their time. It's our time. And yet we are all going to have to do it individually and collectively. And you guys, I really think, let me just check my notes and see. Like I said, I don't have any outline. I was just having intuitive moments. And, as you can tell, I just went off on my tangent being the authentic version that I, am choosing to be right now. And none of this is going to be edited. I know that who is meant to hear my voice and who needs to hear it, no matter whether it's a year from now or today, will find it. That's my intention. I want to leave on the note of the premise that the mind, working in unison and in partnership with the soul, has the ability to truly change our entire experience, for the better or for the worse. And if we're choosing right now to co-create a better world for not only ourselves, but for our children and our children's children, then let us begin right now with ourselves to start envisioning, not because vision is important. Write it down, make it plain. What is it that you really most want to see? And not just what you want as far as things, and your mind's going to try to go places and bring it back. I'm not focusing on who's hurt me, who I want to hurt, who misunderstood me, who did this. Face all that. Where that's a dark night of the soul. We're talking about when we're ready also deal with the dark night of soul. And now we want to focus on recreating the repetitive thoughts, the repetitive ideas, experiences, actions that are really going to assist me to recreate my entire world and reprogram it into something that is nourishing. I want you to really start writing it down. Write it down, make it plain, envision it in your head, but feel the emotion of what it would feel like. Start small. When I didn't have any money and was getting assistance from government, to assist myself with raising, children, it was hard for me to really believe and hold a vision that I could ever have $1 million. I might say it, but did I believe it? Could I really hold that? For me, it was too big of a jump. Now, some people might be able to really do that. More power to you. If you can, and you can really hold that vision and manifest it, go for it. And I mean it with every ounce of my being. You go for it. Whatever you can envision and truly believe with conviction that you can have, experience yourself already having it majority of the time. Walk in that power and do things as if it's already manifest. Now, I'm not saying if you only have $5 and or you only have your rent money and, you see a jacket or something that you see and it costs exactly the amount that the rent money is, but the rent money is due tomorrow, that you just I'm not saying to do that. What I am saying is that walk as if, or with the knowing that if I really wanted to buy this, I could. I'm choosing not to today, but maybe I'll come back for it next week. You know what I mean? Like, have that ability to really step in and own whatever it is that you want to, when you feel like you're sick or tired or you want to lose weight or whatever, envision that vitality or that feeling of just being comfortable in your own skin. You don't have to have a number in your head. If that's what you want to do, then do it. I choose to focus more on how I felt. If I lost 20 pounds, how would I feel? Well, I would feel confident. I would feel great in my clothes. Maybe I would do this or maybe I would do that. Well, it's like, you know what? I might just go ahead and start doing some of those things now. Maybe it's time for me to walk with confidence. Maybe when I look in the mirror, I see how beautiful I already am. And I love every ounce of me, every stretch mark. I love me. You know what I mean? So start walking in it. You can still envision yourself at that weight. And then when you open your eyes and see that it hasn't materialized yet, love on yourself just as if you had. Hug yourself. When you shower and bathe, rub your arms and your legs and just, I love you. Oh, I love you. You're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. As you lather up and rinse off, feel the water cascading around you or through your hair. Know how beautiful and sensual you are and how much you love yourself. Right now, even before you've lost 20, 30 pounds or more or less. That's what I mean when I say that. Like, it's like, take your power back. and stop relying so much on the external and allow those feelings of what it, first you got to know what it is you're wanting, then focus on the energy of how you feel when you would attain that, and then keep that feeling alive, even right now. Every time you start feeling, oh my God, like, nope, redirect and get back in that zone. If it takes you to envision yourself being that way, and then own it right now in the moment. Like, keep redirecting yourself every time you see that repetitive. Remember, you've built momentum in the opposite direction. So you're going to have to start redirecting and building momentum now with turning the ship around. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take a little bit of effort, a little bit of your, it's going to take some dedication. Okay? But you owe it to yourself. If it's something you really, really want, and you owe it to yourself to do it. And I believe in you, and I know you can do it. I know you can do it. Okay? Refuse to let fear guide your steps. And don't flirt with courage. Marry it. That's some words that I think I remember hearing from Napoleon Hill in one of his talks. He said, fear is a creation of man's own mind, and what the mind creates, it can easily also destroy. Move with power even when there is no evidence of things working. Keep the knowing inside that everything always works out for me. Because there is a subtle, cunning killer among men and women, and it is fear. Fear has kept more men broke and suffocated, more potential than any bad luck or jail. It whispers and disguises itself as logic. Fear begins as a thought, a doubt, a hesitation. It steals the identity of the person you were meant to become. And if that thought or those thoughts aren't seized and replaced, it repeats, it becomes rhythm, and then it becomes the identity. That is how fear conquers nations. Minds will surrender their power without a fight through fear. What fears have you allowed to become habit? Is it fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of loss, illness, old age, fear of death? These fears haunt more men and women than failure ever could. And the most dangerous thing about them is that they usually come disguised as intelligence, as caution, even as humility. I want you just to remember these things. This came from Napoleon Hill. These are some things that I had written down a while back. And that's what struck me with like how it was correlated, because I knew when I did another video, when I did another recording, it was going to be about the dark night of the soul. And I wanted to include this, and it was just ordained. Deal with fear, because fear multiplies in silence, yet courage multiplies in motion. So feel what you need to feel and do it anyway. And I want to end with that, because that's what I'm doing right now with my podcast. That's the reason why there were so many gaps in between before. And I'm still trying to find my consistency now, but I'm a lot more consistent than I have been over the last 2 years. Feel the fear, but do it anyway, because courage only multiplies in motion. Okay? Through all the perceived failures and fears, I will not give fear the final word. The mind must be trained. Fear is merely untrained imagination running wild in the absence of purpose. So there we have it, guys. Go forth. Find your purpose. Let it be loud. Because fear is always going to scream. But let your faith, your trust, and your purpose speak louder than fear. Okay? Well, until the next time, you all. Today was a lot. And I was all over the place per usual. But hey, that's what happens when I'm unscripted and authentic. I hope something in this resonated with you. I hope that it may help you on your journey towards being your best self and living in your full potential. We're all out here and we're all interconnected. So when I see and I speak out to the world at large, to anyone who may find this, I send you love. I send you blessings. I send you all the beauty and the health and vitality that you deserve. And I hope that you see that for yourself and help bring that into fruition and make that a reality for yourself. And each one teach one. As you grow and expand and learn and make breakthroughs in your own life, share that with someone else, okay? All right, guys. Well, it's been a pleasure to be here with you all. And until the next time, I don't know where we're going to be at in 2 weeks, but we shall see. May you know that all is truly, truly well. Namaste. Much love and many blessings.